Hello, everybody. This is Peter B. It's Friday afternoon in southern New England, and it's quite chilly. Luckily, there is no breeze or wind, so at least that's not bad. Definitely feels that November is here, leading up to winter, where it's cold and you stay inside and you read books. So I went to a used bookstore for most of these. The first one I bought on Amazon. Something to read. So the first one is Walter Johnson, Baseball's Big Train by Henry W. Thomas. Had good reviews. I read about Christy Mathewson, so now I wanted to read about Walter Johnson. And as everyone who's seen me getting books gives me excuse to buy a baseball card as a bookmark. So this is the 1960 Fleer Baseball Greats, Walter Johnson. And this will be my bookmark. And when I'm finished, it will go into my collection. So Walter Johnson. Now, the next one I got is One in the Ninth by Christy Mathewson. This is the first one of a 6-book series based on really teaching kids morals. Now, let me just get out my note. It was actually ghostwritten by John Wheeler, but Matheson must have had some input. This particular one teaches you about being a team and working together. It's about a college baseball team, and you can recognize players like the shortstop on this college baseball team is called Hans Fagner, not Wagner, but obviously you can tell it's him. And this is the first edition. This book can be very expensive. Fortunately for me, it's kind of beat up, or unfortunately. I think I'll read it. I bought it more just to have it in my collection, but I'll start, see if it's worth. I mean, it'll be light reading. It was written for kids, giving them morals in society. So the bookmark I got is this one. Very appropriate bookmark. Well, they're all appropriate. Okay, so this one, used bookstore. The 1967 American League pennant race. 4 teams, 6 weeks, 1 winner. It's about the great 67 pennant race where 4 teams were neck and neck all the way to the final day. Boston, Detroit, Minnesota, and Chicago. So I know all about this, but I want to get a little bit more deeper view, especially since Boston, the one that came out on top. And when I read this book, here is a 1967 Cal Yastrzemski card. So this will be used as my bookmark, and when I'm done, it will go into my collection. Now, these next 2 books, I think it was Drew at Clean Cheap Shots who told me about them on a video. If I'm not, I apologize to the person I left out, but I think it was Drew. Anyway, the first one's called The Long Season. Now, I read when I was a kid, Ball 4 by Jim Bouton, where he wrote basically a diary when he was in 1969 on the Seattle Pilots, about the inside of baseball and the politics and all that. Well, this I didn't know about until recently. Was written by pitcher Jim Bronson. And this was 10 years early, 1959. And so I'm interested in reading that. It's not as, I can't think of the word. It's not as critical. It's not as blackballed by baseball like Ball 4 was at the end of the day. But this is also gives an account of a year in baseball written by the view of a player. The 1959 season, so I needed to get a 1959 Jim Bronson card. Once again, he'll be my bookmark. Eventually ended up in my collection. And once again, this one, like I said, I think it was Drew. I apologize to the person if it wasn't. But some video, they did mention this. The Wizard of Waxahachie by player Paul Richard, or he was probably a manager by then. I heard about Paul Richard. I read earlier this summer the new book on Earl Weaver. And Paul Richard is actually the guy who came into the Orioles franchise and created the Baltimore way of doing things. And Earl Weaver ran with that and had much success. But Paul Richard's the guy who actually got the ball running, got it all set up the Oriole way. This has a foreword by Brooks Robinson and an introduction by Tony La Russa. Now, if you don't know who Paul Richard is, you probably are very familiar with his cards. He has one of the coolest ever baseball cards. 1933 Gowdy. He was a catcher. Like I said, later a manager. And that is one of the coolest cards ever. I think it's in focus for you guys. I hope it's in focus for you guys. Paul Richards. I'm sorry if it's not in focus, but 33 Gowdy. One of the coolest cards ever. Reminds me of that scene in Field of Dreams where the father was taking off his gear after the game. Fantastic card. That's Paul Richards. And he, unfortunately, has one of the goofiest cards. 1951 Bowman, where they didn't have a photo of him when he became manager of the White Sox. So they had to have a sketch artist draw him and totally made him look like a cartoon. So he went from having one of the best cards ever to one of the worst cards ever. Well, that's this guy, the Wizard of Waxahachie. So I want it cool to learn about him. I'm sorry, my camera on this end looks like it's not in focus. And I had to get a bookmark. So here he is. Manager of the Baltimore Orioles. And then the final book, this is the one I'm reading right now because it's the season. It's Gales of November by John U. Bacon. This is the 50th year anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I believe it was on November 10th was the actual day. And this is a brand new book. Just came out a month ago. And I started reading it. It's very good. And I love the song by Gordon Lightfoot. If you never heard this song, go to YouTube or wherever you look up songs and type in Gordon Lightfoot. The Gales of November or the Sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald and listen to it. Fantastic song. So far it's been a very good book. This one, like I said, I am reading. I did start. And they don't have any cards of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So I had to get a Victorian trade card from the 19th century. And this is called Wreck on the Shore of Lake Superior. And it was for Clark's Spool Cotton. And this particular card was presented by Peterson and Scow Dry Goods Company. So a wreck on Lake Superior. Closest thing I can come to an Edmund Fitzgerald card. Good book, at least so far. So that's it. If you read books and are buying some for this cold season coming up, let me know. I'd be interested, especially if they're very good books. Well, that's it. It's a freezing Friday, but I hope everyone's having a great time. Goodbye.